the toll of war goes beyond the battlefield. While soldiers fight, families are left behind to pick up the pieces. But what happens to the minds and hearts of the innocent? Today, we dive deep into the unseen psychological damage of war, especially on children and families, in a potential conflict between Iran and Israel. The political tensions between Iran and Israel have been rising for decades. Each side, driven by its own strategic and ideological goals, has prepared for the worst, war. But what often gets overshadowed by the political and military narrative are the stories of innocent lives caught in the crossfire. What happens when bombs fall, not just on infrastructure, but on the human spirit? For children, war is not just about physical destruction, it's about the destruction of their sense of safety and trust in the world. Studies show that children who experience war are at a much higher risk of developing mental health disorders such as post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, and depression. Children in conflict zones, like the potential war between Iran and Israel, live in constant fear. The sound of explosions, the sight of destroyed homes, and the loss of loved ones can scar them for life. These traumas shape their view of the world, making it hard for them to form healthy relationships and trust others in the future. War doesn't just impact individuals, it shatters families. Parents struggle to provide safety for their children in a world that feels uncontrollable. Families are often forced to flee their homes, becoming refugees, living in constant uncertainty. The stress of finding food, shelter, and safety breaks down family bonds. Parents, overwhelmed by their own trauma, may become emotionally distant from their children, worsening the psychological impact on the younger generation. The scars of war don't end when the conflict is over. What we call generational trauma means that the psychological damage can be passed down from one generation to the next. Children who grow up in war-torn environments may carry the fear and distrust they experienced into adulthood, affecting how they raise their own children. In Israel conflict, the damage could last for decades. We would see entire generations growing up in fear, anxiety, and mistrust, trapped in a cycle of trauma. It's easy to think that these problems are limited to the region, but the psychological impact of war ripples across the globe. Refugee crises, mental health issues, and societal breakdowns affect us all. This is why global peace efforts and psychological support for war-torn regions are so critical. The world has a responsibility not just to stop wars, but to help heal the wounds they leave behind. As we consider the potential consequences of war between Iran and Israel, let's remember that the true cost isn't counted only in buildings destroyed or lives lost. The most lasting damage is invisible. It's the trauma imprinted on the minds of children and the destruction of families. Our hope for the future lies in our ability to prevent this, to understand the deep psychological wounds war creates, and to work together for peace. Let's build a world where no child has to fall asleep to the sound of bombs, and where families can live in safety, free from the horrors of war. Peace begins with understanding. Let's strive for a future where war is not an option.